أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. Last week we had discussed some of the ailments or diseases of the heart, not in the sense of medical diseases, but the diseases of the mind, the diseases of the heart which affect the mind as a center of thought process, and how they affect that ultimately one is not able to receive the Hidayat, we receive Hidayat, and it's not able to process it, it's not able to apply it. As we had covered some of the items, in fact, we had already discussed those items, but this time, under this segment of discussion, I was just referring to them. For example, in one ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when the hearts are affected, then one of the form of the disorder is that their hearts are not straight in processing the information. There is zag. They are not straight. There is a curve. There is a deviation. That they discuss these things or they process these things which is not straight. They process it with deviation. And they, instead of processing the right thing, they process it in the wrong direction. And the another form which affects the heart in the process is that in their heart is a regret. They are not satisfied people. They don't have kalbe atminan, mutmain al-kulub. They have no salim heart, kalbe salim. They have a regret. These people, at the end, ultimately in their life also, they find that they have a regret. They have lived with a regretful life. Hazrat Umar was asked that how would you leave this world? He said, I'll leave it fully satisfied that whatever Allah gave me, I'm satisfied with that. I'm fully satisfied. So they never have a satisfied heart. There's always a regret in their heart. They don't feel all right. They feel depressed. They were depressed heart. And these people, in whose hearts there is an ailment, and particularly when I say heart here, I mean mind, in whose minds there is some problem that they can't process the information, they can't process the truth, they cannot receive the truth, they cannot receive the Hidayat. These people are always covered in their approach, in their character, in their personality. They are in fact influenced under, they always feel as if they are under threat. At one place, Quran tells that even if there is a small disturbance, somebody is, for example, walking on the dried leaves, and there is a chop, there is some noise, some voice, there is some sound. Even that sound disturbs them. They feel challenged. They feel as if somebody is challenging them. They feel threatened. That is the state of mind. So such people, when they are in that situation, why are they in that situation of the heart and of the mind? Is that they are committing shirk. Those people, mushrikeen, who don't have faith in God, who don't have faith in Allah, and they are committing shirk, they are the coward people. They feel threatened with even the smallest thing. Look at the people of Gaza, how they are facing this adversity, the adversity with faith in God. They have dead bodies of the children in their hands. They are themselves injured severely, and they still say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. They have hope in God because they believe in one God. And those who are committing the kufr and the zulm, and they are basically because of the shirk, they depend upon some other power or superpower. They are so coward that they don't have this feeling of security in them. Even with a small stone, they feel while they even when they are in a very they're guarded in a heavy armored vehicle, they feel threatened by a stone. This is raw because of the shirk, because of the dependence on the power other than Allah. But those who depend on the power of Allah, they are not threatened by such things. And those people who commit shirk, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given an example that although they apparently listen, but they defy it, they deny it, they violate it, and they openly say that we don't believe in the international law, we don't believe in the law of God, we don't believe in any norms, because in their hearts, because of the violation, continued violation for hundreds of years, for years together, because of this violation, Ijl is a symbol. The object which they have in they worship, because of the worship of that object, it has been absorbed in their mind. That shirk has absorbed in their mind. The violation of the law has been absorbed by their mind, that they are working accordingly. It has been absorbed. It has gone into their mind. It has been poured into their mind. Their mind is filled with this pouring, that they continue the kufr. And they openly defy and deny the norms, the laws, the conduct, laws of conduct, which are internationally, or nationally, or locally, or among the people, which are implementable. Such hearts, when they act, they lose the feeling of difference between the good and the right, and the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. Their hearts are sinful. Their thought process is sinful. They cannot sift between right and wrong. Whatever they are committing, they think as if they are doing something good, because the sin is in their thought process. Qalb is the processor, shuffles the information to find the truth. They cannot do that. I had explained these terms earlier. Now, these are the indications that these peoples, there is an ailment in their heart, that's why they cannot receive the Hidaayat. And one of the apparent sign in the behavior of such people is that they are very harsh. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet, peace be upon him, that I have blessed you, that you are not of that harsh behavior. If you were of that harsh behavior, they would have run away from you. From around you, they would have run away. Look at the beauty of Arabic and its depth, that here fa, zwa, zwad, zwe, and here fa and zwad. And there's a hell of a difference. These are two different words. Sometimes people pronounce it without making some discussion. Fazan, faz, fazan, but there is a lot of difference in their meaning. If you were harsh in your behavior, they would have run away from your surroundings, from around you. Now, other conditions of the heart, when it is working, that whatever it can earn, it earns. It's not only earning with the hand. The earning is also the earning of good, earning of evil, earning of bad, that starts with the heart. One starts earning with the heart, niyat, the way the information is processed, the way the information is used. Its earning, its credit or debit starts with the way the one thinks and how he wants to implement it, how he wants to execute it. If the hearts are satisfied, as I gave an example of Hazrat Umar, that is the proper working condition of the heart, that it is not affected, it is not diseased. That is the healthy condition so far as the thought process is concerned. This is again the same, that those who are satisfied, as I gave an example of Hazrat Umar, it is a blessing of God, and they have a glad tiding for that. They have a promise. They have a promise for success here and the success hereafter, and they are reassured. Their hearts are reassured, and those hearts are satisfied with the ni'mat of Allah, and they mention the ni'mat of Allah, and they offer shukr of the ni'mat of Allah. They do the zikr of the ni'mat of Allah, and their hearts are strengthened. فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. And among those people in that group of mu'minin, people of mu'minin, the ummah of mu'minin, together, these hearts have effect. They come together, they fold together, they bind together, they create strength. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised in the Battle of Badr that I will help you with three-folded, five-folded, five-dimensional, three-dimensional, folded, strengthened, layer upon layer, have support to you, one after the other. I'll support you. These hearts are strengthened in that way. Now, I will not go into the details, but I'll just mention that in these hearts, diseases of these hearts are also mentioned, discussed in the most modern scientific way, that these are the hearts of the disease, which Quran has mentioned. For example, there is a psychosomatic condition in which psyche, mind, I had explained the meaning of psyche. Psyche reflecting in body condition, they are never at ease. At one place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they remain in rage, and let the rage perish them. They perish themselves under their own rage, their hearts, kidneys, they get affected. And it refers to the condition which is caused or aggravated by mental internal conflict. There is an internal conflict. In the beginning, I had shown you that there is a conflict in their afwahim and in their thought process. What they say, afwah, what they declare, there's a conflict in their speech and in their thought process. There's a conflict in their mind. So there is an internal stress. These things are also explained in psychology. The things to which Quran has pointed out is psychological, irrational, stress-related, state-induced depression. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La taqnatu min rahmatallah. Don't go into depression. Always remain hopeful. Have hope in God. If your heart is mutmain, if you have qalb salim, if you have mutmain qalb. And this I had already, while discussing some other points some time back, I had discussed these things. So I'm not repeating this, but here as a segment, we are discussing them at one place. And what makes a person a self, difference between self and person when we are translating them. This also I had discussed. I'm not going into detail that what is the difference between the self and the person, between the nafs and the person. And this I had explained with reference to the nafs and the anfus. About concept about oneself, how one believes, how one sees oneself. Every animal doesn't have this concept. For example, elephants recognize themselves. There are certain animals in the animal world which they recognize themselves, but not every animal. And they don't recognize to the extent that one has a self-concept. And from the self-concept comes a self-respect also. One's own perception, thoughts tied to emotions, feelings, and body. Self. At many places, self has been mentioned in this way. Then self as personality, we had discussed this also. Self as a person, self as a persona, and self as personality. In these different meanings, word nafs has been used in the Quran. And what is the personality? What makes the personality? What makes the conduct of a person? These have been discussed in Quran. Character is personal. Person has a character. And collectively in a group, when the people join together as a group, as a community, as an ummah, that is culture. They make a culture. So the personality, when it is mentioned as a personality in Quran, it refers to the pattern of thoughts. Mu'mineen, Mu'minun, as a group has been discussed. They think in a certain way, in a proper way. They have similar feeling. They feel like one body. Their behavior is the same. And that constitutes character. And they have essential qualities of being mutmain. These are also I had already discussed. Now, what is the scope of self? This also I had discussed. I'm not going into these details. I want to finish this topic during this year. What is that which makes a self? What is that among selves? What is that within oneself to be managed? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do you know what manages the nafs? So these things I have discussed already. I have discussed this. That what is to be managed among the selves and what is to be managed within the self, oneself. How self works. Shuhan nafs. It works through waswas, and waswas gets a spur, which is called the shuhan nafs. At that time, discussing these things, it has come under discussion. So I am not going into the detail of discussion of these ayat here. Otherwise, every ayat in its own right needs discussion properly. Now, what engages Hidayat? But Hidayat engages with what? It works with what? When now we have completed that Hidayat has been received through the ports, Sama, Basar, it has been processed by Fawad, it has been shuffled by the Qalb, now it has come to the Sadr, it is the center of intelligence, a decision has been taken, now it is going to be implemented, and there is Hidayat which has been received. How it works, then it has different levels. There are different types of Hidayat, different levels of Hidayat. Hidayat is appropriate to self-dynamism of each and every creature. For example, bee, the honey bee, has been given a particular type of Hidayat which has been ingrained, which has been installed as a wahi. It has been installed. Wahi is installed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the Prophet, peace be upon him, don't move your heart, don't worry, don't move your tongue, don't worry. Once I install the wahi in your mind, you will start working accordingly. It will work, it will continue to work. You will not forget it. That is the installation. Wahi is installed in honeybee and it is still working the way it was ordered. Make your buyut in the mountains and the trees. Collect the pollen. Make honey for the benefit of mankind. And it is self-dynamic. It works within that. But there are different types of this. Those we will discuss. How Hidayat works. Self-dynamism in interacting dynamic environment. Hidayat works according to the features with which it has been installed, and it works in an environment. What does that mean? That the environment is dynamic. It is challenging. Today we have a challenge of weather. Tomorrow we have a challenge of some other situation. It works in that dynamic situation and works accordingly. Responds to the situation according to the challenges. Since the mind has been created, all along there have been different challenges on this planet, and that Hidayat, the package which was given, that is still working in that dynamic situation of challenges involving. Now it works with, our topic is Hidayat engages with what? Hidayat engages with instinct. For example, hunger is an instinct. But instinct is not let loose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I have not created and let you loose. Don't think that you will not be tested. You will be put to function. You will be tested. The instinct of hunger, for example, it has not been let loose as in it is in some animals. They keep roaming, they keep looking here and there for anything which they find on the ground, they will lick it. But human instinct is working with Hidayat. It is engaging with Hidayat. Hidayat is engaging with instinct. And the senses. Hidayat works with senses. Allah has given 5 senses. And over and above these five senses, Allah has given extra sensory perception. Allah has given reflexes. Allah has given the capacity to look into the future. Tawil al-ahadith. You can interpret a happening hadith, happening which has happened today, that what are going to be the consequences. It is beyond senses, extrasensory perception. Reflexes are working extrasensory around the body. Sometimes you feel something at the back, although you have not turned your head, but still you can feel. And then guided by working instructions which have been given in that Hidayat, in that package of Hidayat. It has been inherently built in the genes, set of social genes. It works in that. Now, this is one package. The other package, when you are connected with Allah, when your mind is connected with Allah, when you are conscious, when you have consciousness, when you have God consciousness, when you have connectivity, when you have taqwa, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps his communication connected with you all the time. You get alqa, flash, beam. Sometimes you feel you are driving. Oh, Allah saved me. Something was going to happen. But at that right moment, some flash came in your mind and you saved yourself. And Allah saved you. This is alqa. This is flash. These are packages, different packages with which Hidaayat works. Ilham, intuition, it has been embedded. For alhamaha fujuraha wa taqwaha. This has already been embedded along with the genes. It doesn't wait for alqa. It can work even without alqa. When you are offline, you are not connected, even then, this can work. Somebody is committing wrong. This ilham is there. It is working. What is right and what is wrong. In many animals, even in the human beings, not only in the general sense, but each and every organ, each and every cell, each and every atom has been given this capacity, this capability by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is to be taken, what is to be rejected. The wrong has to be rejected, the right has to be taken. They are receptors on the cells. You take a medicine, there is some foreign body also, maybe there is something which is wrong, the receptor will not accept it. It will accept the right medicine, the right ingredient which is required. There is a capability inbuilt in the nafs at every level, at the level of the atom, at the level of the cell, at the level of the group, at the level of the organ. Ilham, it continuously works. Even offline, it works. But when you are connected, the alqa is additional ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rahmat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It continuously keeps you on the right path, guides you. And wahi is the package which is installed. And it works. Prophet, peace be upon him, said that after the Sahaba asked him that we are now seeing a silver line in your hair. You are growing old. And the Prophet says, yes, after I have received the Surah Hud, I feel that I'm aging. It was so hard to implement. There are so many requirements of implementation in the society, dealing with the people, dealing with the kuffar, dealing with the mushrikeen, dealing with the enemies. But if wahi is installed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it works accordingly. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I strengthened, ayyadna, power. When I strengthened, gave power, ayyadna, bi'aydin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthened the ruh, the command, the software in Isa alayhi salam. And Isa alayhi salam was able to speak as a mature person in the lab. He was given that strengthened module or the software, the command. What is ruh? Kulli ruh min amri rabbi. It is the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That command, ruh, was sent to Maryam, and it appeared as a holograph, as a bashar. Ruh was sent, and that appeared as a holograph, as a bashar. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can strengthen that ruh in any way with any capability, with any functionality. And the ruh which was strengthened in Isa alayhi salam, it was able to speak maturely even in the lab. And B works still accordingly. It comes through inspiration, which we call revelation. Now, interacting dynamic spheres of Hidayat. As I said, there are different types, different modules, different features with which Hidayat works. If we weak them, for example, if we disconnect from why, we don't use the instructions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We disconnect from ilham. We don't work with the good genes, good group of genes. We start tending the bad genes in a society. This process is called socialization. And I have discussed that the socialization as a process, as a scientific process, as a social process, as discussed by sociologists, by psychologists, starts from the mother's lap. That is called socialization. Socialization of the child who's a human being is socialization. These things get affected right from there. They are working in interacting dynamic sphere. What are those dynamic spheres? Transcendent, the divine. Some people go in one direction and they start interpreting everything spiritually, spiritualism, Sufism, divinity. They even claim divinity for themselves. They claim divinity for the people, and they go in that direction wrongly. And some work with the metaphysical, beyond physical. But these are not separate spheres. They have to work together. The divine, the beyond the divine, that is metaphysical, and the cosmos, nature, that is nature, physical, seen and the unseen, Ghaib and Shahadat. These spheres have to work together, and Hidayat is for all these spheres, which have to be interacting in a dynamic way. We cannot leave the divine and just go for the metaphysical. We cannot leave the metaphysical and just go for the nature. Those who follow just the nature or the cosmos and they leave the metaphysical part of it or the divine part, that the Hidayat comes from there, Wahi comes from there, Alqa comes from there, Ilham has been instituted from there. If they deny that, if they leave that, and if they depend only and only on the physical, then they go away from the totality of the reality. They don't know the totality of the truth. They just go after the science and they leave the divine part of it. Extrasensory perceptions, extrasensory perception, reflexes, senses, as I mentioned, they work together. And when we are connected, all the time we are getting Hidayat collectively while using these reflexes. Allah sends Alqa, and we feel something through our reflexes, through our extrasensory perception. Allah saves us from many things, which we, even if we don't know, but we have a perception. According to Hadith, according to the narration, Umar could perceive extrasensory perception. You may call it telepathy. What was happening when the believers were fighting in Iran? And he gave instructions to Sariu from there while he was sitting in Masjid in Medina. I've already mentioned that the Sadr, the intelligence, cognition, that also is multi-layered. It works with with cognition, and it pursues through curiosity, practical considerations, and with an aim. That is wisdom. But it comes through cognition. All these things are mentioned in different ways, at different places, but we have just to collate I'm not explaining each one of them. I'm just pointing out, drawing your attention. Thinking can be endless, multiple, not single intelligences. There are different intelligences, plural, which have been ingrained. IQ is form of intelligence, emotional intelligence. This theory refers to intelligence as collection of specific intelligences, and these are strengthened by Ruh. When the Ruh is strengthened, we say ayyadna bi ruhin, ayyadna bi ruhi. Yeah, then I gave it more power, more features. These intelligences are human being is the best of the creations among all these things which we are visibly seeing, or we are knowing, or we have known, till what we have known. And in that human being, the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, and then the emotional intelligence, the feelings, this is an extra, it's a flabbergasting creation of God, how it has been created. It is not an ordinary thing. These different layers have been mentioned in Quran. Intelligence is the ability to think, fikr, learn, ilm, experience, work, make decisions without outcomes and with outcomes, solve problems, adapt to situations for survival and development. All these things are mentioned in Quran. I have just tried to collate here. If we go and discussing each and with reference to each and every ayat, it is a separate subject for mental activity directed toward purposive adaptation to selection and shaping of real world environments relevant to one's life. These things are present in sciences. I'm leaving it here. I'm just skipping, but this is a very highly technical subject which is working through Sadr. I mentioned this, how the Sadr is working scientifically, what science says about Sadr. These things I mentioned there, but I'm not going into detail. Similarly, Qalb, how it works, social emotional intelligence, how it works. This is mentioned then. Fawad, how it works with senses. It takes the inputs. Sama and Basar, Fawad, they have been mentioned together. And how a conscious person who is taqwa, conscious works with it, how he interprets it. And this is all science, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting attention. And these are some authors who have written on these things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about this thing collectively is saying that for whom I strengthen these things, I give them power, I give them highly powered command features in the Ruh, I expand their sadr, I expand these components, these features, which collectively are working as sadr, and their sadr for Islam is expanded. Sharah Allah, sadr lil Islam, sadr, their sadr, sadrhul Islam, their sadr, and they get for them, then there is Noor. They are on the path of Noor from Allah. They follow Noor. They follow the path of Noor from Allah. This I had mentioned, attention requires attention, intention, then it's putting it into practice. While we're discussing this taqwa, just one part of it, that it requires, the condition is that you listen silently, you listen attentively, and then with attention, you develop intention. And when you develop intention, then you put it into practice. And the practices has to be the right practice. That is the good conduct. That is amal and salihan. We had discussed that as a component, as one component, that how it works. Here I'm not going into discussion. And then It is not just listening from one ear and taking out from the other. It works, it has to be kept in memory. Then from you have to retrieve it from memory. Zikr. Zikr is retrieval from the memory component. Zikr is that you retrieve it from your memory, from the long-term memory and from your working memory. This is science. Zikr. With logic and reasoning. Tafakkur, tawakkul. Then it has to go to auditory processing, visual processing. In other words, cognitive abilities. This is all science. But since you will not be happy with me if I go into this science, I'm just skipping through. That just the point is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made insan and he's telling him, I gave you summer, I gave you basar, I gave you ears, I gave you eyes, I gave you mind, I gave you all these things to think. It is not an ordinary thing. How many years have taken science to come to the present stage of computer, but still this computer, even the supercomputer, is not as super as the human brain is. Then Hidaayat can set these things itself right. If one is on Hidaayat, I leave it here. And from here, we may start, inshallah, Allah willing. Allah may help me, Allah may guide me, that we start, inshallah, next time from here. And just putting a bar here. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzat amma yasifuna wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعلى كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us. Shower us with your blessings. Increase our knowledge. Grant us forgiveness. And reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, grant them your mercy. Make their graves a garden from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. Oh Allah, we have our son Mahraj, our daughter Aisha Wani, the mother of sister Dua Atallah. Oh Allah, grant all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, guide our children, protect them, and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, and his sins have been forgiven. Oh Allah, we have many of our brethren who are suffering from injustice and oppression. We have our brothers and sisters in Gaza are under very severe condition. Oh Allah, they have no one but you. Oh Allah, grant them victory, and remove their suffering and give them lasting peace and prosperity. Oh Allah, subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, adada khalqih wa rida nafsih wa zinata arshih wa midada kalimatih. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.